Hi, this is Steve Gladys. In my leadership interviews with, and today's person is Darin Powers, who's the president of NT Solutions. Did I get that wrong? NT Strategies, right?
NT Concepts.
Concepts. Oh, I blew that one right off the bat. Well, there we go. You know, it's a human thing. Darin, how did you get to where you are? What was I knew you were in the Marine Corps because I see your Marine Corps picture there, and I know you personally. So tell us a little bit how you got there.
So you're asking for somewhat my life story a little bit.
Yeah.
I like to tell folks, do it this way. I'm educated as an engineer. I found out, specifically electrical engineer, and I found out in college that I love to optimize things, systems. Then I had, and you would understand this, I had some significant frontline leadership experiences in the Marine Corps. And, you know, as a non-humanities technical person, I had to learn that the system actually had an independent will, a heart, a mind. It's actually people. And optimizing a system isn't just change the voltage, change the amps. It's engage the people. So eventually I did the tandem Marine Corps thing and industry. So in the Marine Corps Reserves, and in the Marine Corps Reserves at our country's time of war here, post 9/11. Yeah. Coincident with that, I sort of went on a faith journey / what's my purpose? What was I created for?
Yeah.
And just looking back on my life, I found out that I have a passion for optimizing systems. I'm fascinated by people. And all the experiences were around scaling or recovering teams. And NT Concepts is a purpose-built, founder-led company whose founder has that sense of purpose of serving people and then growing. So it's a perfect fit. It's just a wonderful fit.
So you said it was purpose-led, or you mentioned purpose in there. Talk about what's the purpose of NT Concepts?
So yeah, I like that question. People ask purpose and what do you do? And I think purpose has deeper meaning. Mm-hmm. Michelle Bolos, our founder, really seeks to, we're 21 years old, and create and serve three groups: a client with a mission, they have a job to do, employees who live in a community, they want to be part of that world, and then a company, and the purpose of the company is to be a platform for good to serve the other two.
Oh, great. So it's almost like a B Corp. It has this mission where it has a mission to make money and has a mission to do good with the money. Is that what you're saying? I mean, I know it's not a B Corp.
I mean, it embraces the notion that there's dignity in employment, there's dignity in purpose, there's dignity in doing a job that has value. So let's go enable that.
Yeah. So do you guys do work in the community as well? Is that part of your mission?
Do. We have a pretty strong, our goal is the company doesn't select particular places to give and then mandate it to the company. Our goal is to enable employees through financial matching, giving them time off to serve, for them to create a life of service in their community, and we enable that. The corporation does have each executive, each leader has some places where they serve. But for the most part, the goal is help an employee to adopt a life of service. That really extends from our founder's lessons she learned from her father. And that's just a wonderful story at one point in time, would be to talk to Michelle about her father teaching her about a life of service. That's how, as an entrepreneur, you could enable that.
Oh, that'll be a great story. I'll have to do that. So to get into this idea of COVID, and everybody's talking about it, how did COVID affect your business? What happened to you guys when this thing dropped like a rock out of the sky?
Yeah, back to our purpose: customers, employees, and the company. From a customer standpoint, actually what it's done for most of our customers is enhanced tightness with them. They're in the same issue. So a number of our programs, they're on the same team trying to struggle through it together. For our employees, we have about 1,000 employees.
Wow.
About 50%, 500 of those employees were already full-time telework. The remaining so that was an easy transition.
Yeah,
the remaining 500 have had the gamut of easy transition to challenging transition, mostly on their personal side. How do I do work and life at the same time?
At home, yeah. Would I classify you as a government contractor?
Yes, so we're 100% facing the federal government, all around technology services, predominantly software development and data science.
So do people have to show up at a particular place, or are they all virtual now?
The folks who have to show up are folks whose clients' workflow and data are restricted access. So there's some level of classification.
Yeah.
And so we're on hybrid teams, shift style work in those environments to ensure physical distancing in their physical workspace.
So what are some of the things you've had to do to adjust to all this? What are I mean, it's been stunning for everybody. What have you learned from this experience?
So I'll take the first part first with what did we do, and then sort of the what did we learn.
Yeah.
The what did we do? I'll bucket it. I'll use Marine Corps threes.
Never hurts.
Authentic, transparent, frequent communication. Hey, this is what we know. This is what we don't know. From the top of the organization to everyone.
Yeah.
Two, really leveraging. So we believe in the employee-manager relationship as the primary relationship. We didn't go create a COVID task force to respond to we leveraged the existing infrastructure and the existing organizational structure, and really pushed on that and continue to push on that relationship as an avenue to address and touch every employee. And then a third piece, we recognize that regardless, however you try, there's going to be rumors, there's going to be falsehoods, we're seeing into people's lives at a deeper level, there's going to be sensitive topics.
Yeah.
So we asked and sort of broadly designated our VP of Talent and HR, another Marine, to be the keeper of truth and the mitigator of rumor.
I like that.
So, if you needed to know if I heard that our work site had 3 COVID cases in it, is that true? Hey, here's what we know. So across the organization, sort of he's the combined Paul Harvey, what's the rest of the story, and Snopes.
Yeah. Well, that's a good combination. Yeah.
And it seemed to have worked out well. And then also there's an avenue for, I just can't have this personal conversation with my manager. I would like to have it with a third party, the HR side. And that you're seeing into people's lives at a deeper level. They're having challenges. Some folks are having challenges in their lives. And so this keeper of truth and place to go to for challenging topics.
So break down, if you don't mind. So when you said that you had 3 buckets, the first one had to do with open, transparent conversations and so forth. What was the interval like? Did you do it? Was there a lot in the beginning, and then as time went on, you could let it? How did that work?
Correct. We sort of bucketed them in at least into the communications for the entire company. We bucketed them into 2 groups. One group was senior leader communication, so our founder and myself, and that was high tempo and has spaced out over time.
High tempo meaning it was happening frequently as opposed
in
to
the beginning.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially in the
when you didn't know.
We're in multiple states. Different states were different municipalities were having different. So.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
You had to sort of combine those and turn around and say, okay, the tempo, what do we need to get out this week and then next week? And now we've begun to space those out. The next layer down were the how to. We have an employee assistance program. There was in a lot of communication, the employees didn't know that there were online resources for counseling services, or just simple things like how do I handle my teenager?
Yeah.
And I say it's simple. It's not simple, right?
Let us all know.
And then there was a third level. I meant to say I articulated there were two levels, but there was actually a third level, and that was what might be called skip levels. Myself and other folks just literally reached out to employees, sometimes scheduled, sometimes ad hoc. How's it going? Very revealing. They're anecdotal. So we didn't knee-jerk react to each finding, but you could see trends.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit more about what you did to adjust. I like the seeker of or what was it? Keeper of the truth.
Keeper of truth.
Yeah, I like that. Did they get a lot of calls?
I honestly don't know, because part of that is an intentional transparency and trust.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
That and so you would get a sense for the temperature, but not the specificity.
Yeah, you want to have confidentiality. Be interesting to see just from a frequency standpoint how many you got when, and I would expect you get a lot in the beginning. This is just hypothesis. You get a lot in the beginning, and as time went on, and you dispense more and more, that rumors would calm down, because rumors are created because people don't get information. They try to make sense of things, and they usually are wrong. But yeah, I just didn't know. No, so what else would you like us to know that you did?
It also creates confidence in, remember I talked about, we used our existing workforce, the existing organization.
Yeah, I like that, yeah.
So when you have the avenue to say, well, when the keeper of truth in the existing workforce, the information matches, that builds confidence in the org.
Yeah.
And so over time, I anticipate that I'm going to go get this information because it increases trust in the frontline leadership.
Speak a little bit about your philosophy about personnel that you didn't, you spoke on a little bit, but why you didn't form this, and it has a lot to do with the way you recruit people, I think, right? Why you didn't put a task force together?
It's the way it's founded on a belief that I learned in the Marine Corps. You fight with the team that you've trained, and the people who know each other are those that are closest together in the team. So let them lead. Yeah. And we try and recruit folks. People really want that. They want to have the freedom to perform where they work.
Yeah, that level of autonomy where they can make decisions that affect them right where they are. Yeah. So if there were a new CEO came to you and asked you for advice in, leading in crisis or leading in general, would there be some general precepts that you would say? And then would there be some, and as I would adapt them, or would you say they're different? I didn't just happen to think of that, whether they're the same.
There's something around authentic, empathetic communication built on your principles. I don't know that answer. Here's where I think we're going based on my confidence that this is how I perform. This is what I believe in. So one around authentic, empathetic communications. I understand what you're saying. The second is, I'll call it sensing or learning. And there's both an internal and an external. We already talked about the calls and the reaching out to employees at all levels. That is all about just sensing and learning, and then also doing it outside. So like the forums that you host, where you're engaging with peers, I'm in a forum that is not from my market. There are a collection of executives who are not from my market. That has been unbelievably informative during this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
While
Like a
we're
Vistage
different, we're
group,
the same.
little Vistage group, that kind of thing, or one
Yes.
of those. Yeah. 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 No, I think it's a great forum. Yeah.
And then a third level would be, a piece of advice would be to get out in front or get on the balcony, and
Yeah.
see the broader patterns, not just the pattern from your current windscreen. You know,
I hear.
get above it and, well, where is all this going? You have to spend some time out there. So some time in empathetic, authentic comms, some time collecting information internally and externally, and then some time, dedicated time about on the balcony.
I hear the Heifetz and Linsky theory, right? The balcony and the dance floor, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know their work. Yeah. So you've known some leaders historic. I guess I think you're a history guy. Or do you have any historical leaders that you think, yeah, that guy is a politician? I mean, a politician's a different kind of leader. Obviously, they're always playing to constituencies. But any politicians or any leaders and historic leaders that you've seen, other politician or otherwise, that you think are examples of pretty good leadership?
My leadership examples tend to be very personal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that's good.
So I'd say there's two. One very personal, and one well, they're both personal. Both intersect my life. My first is my mom. So mom grew up, had the opportunity to go to college. She went to college in the late 50s as an engineer when women didn't get educated as engineers.
Yeah.
Through death and divorce, she raised 5 sons, still alive. Mom's a tough nut, very resilient. So from a leadership standpoint, I learned resiliency.
Yeah.
And then a second one is when I was in college and going through, I was in a Marine Corps program at college. Our Marine officer instructor was a captain named, he retired recently, or in 2016 as a lieutenant general. His name's John Jocko Tulin. But I knew him as a captain, and I was a 20-something college student. Unbelievable impact on my life with regard to, and an indelible mark with regard to integrity, humor in the face of crisis, husband, father, leader. So those two. So answer to your question around leaders, mine tend to be very personal and tangible to me.
Yeah. No, and I think those are the ones that make the biggest impression. That those historical things are kind of fun, Lincoln and so forth, and Kennedy and all that, kind of fun to think about there. But it's the people that surround you that actually make the indelible marks in your personality. So one sort of last question is, and then anything else you want to talk about. One is that the prediction is that many of the things that are going on, especially as this thing drags on, are going to stick. Like, people aren't going to want to go to work every day anymore. People are going to want to work from home, but not all the time. People are going to want to we're going to probably change, transportation will probably change. Office buildings probably not going to need as many, or use them for different things because you may cut your footprint down. What kind of things are you seeing that might stick and might change us in ways that make us take a kind of a pretty good turn in our society?
I think, again, I'll stick on the theme of personal.
Yeah.
And making it personal. And in that context, I think people have a purpose, and they understand being non-essential in a short term. But people don't fundamentally understand and will not accept that they're non-essential in the long term. They have a purpose to live out.
Interesting.
And so in that pursuit of purpose and being essential, I think we're going to see some traditional foundations fracture. these were trends that had already started. So I think education is going to change.
Yeah.
Why can't your high schooler take a course online from a prep school in England, a Hebrew language course from Israel, and a natural history course or environmental course from Kenya, all online in high school? Employment, I think folks are going to, you can't be non-essential forever. Your business can't be closed forever. They're going to find entrepreneurial ways to take on risk, adapt, and fundamentally shift what it means to be employed.
Interesting.
So something around everybody's got a purpose, and that purpose means you're essential. We understand there's a point in time where you might take a knee, get off the field because others got to do something, but you can't live that way.
Interesting. So it kind of ties back to your original comment about the company and its sense of imbuing a sense of purpose, this idea of non-essential. I never thought of that. I think that's a great point, that people designating somebody as non-essential is such a status demeaning thing that it should grade at everybody, right? Except on snow days.
Well, snow days go away now, right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Those are the things that I find interesting and fascinating. How many things are gone, and how many things, like for example, how do you keep people from overworking when they're home? Because they tend to overwork.
Yes.
And so how do you, employers are actually going to have to spend, I was reading a study that people are actually 35% more effective when they work from home. And what happens when you have to start doing EAP that tells people to stop working and not work 14 hours a day? It's a complete reversal, Anyway, listen, is there any final word that you'd like to have before we close?
I appreciate the dialogue. It's an easy flow.
Well, thank you. And thanks for doing this. We really appreciate it. It's, again, Darin Powers with NT Concepts and quite a leader and a fellow Marine Corps. Semper Fi, my friend. Semper Fi.